What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about the gameplay changes we just got in the final update of Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 2. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, comment down below what you think of these changes, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So this update is not a major gameplay changing update. I'll explain why at the end of the video, but we did get a few balance changes, and I'll have what Fortnite status posted on screen now, and you can see some of the less desirable weapons in the loot pool got some changes. The first is going to be the twin mag SMG having its mag size increased from 20 to 27, and so it is more kind of on par with the Thunderburst SMG. It's still a bit lower, but it does reload really fast every other reload, so it should be a bit lower. Overall, I feel like while the mag size was kind of a problem for the twin mag SMG, this doesn't change the meta too much for zero build, because the biggest problem with this weapon, I think, was its jumping accuracy. If you're shooting this while in the air, it is very inaccurate, and you're not going to be consistently landing shots. And as I've talked about several times throughout the course of the season, the way a lot of fights play out in zero build this season kind of revolve around the gloves, with people like kind of uppercutting each other and shooting while in the air, or uppercutting and shooting down on enemies. And then even if you aren't using the gloves, there's things like shockwaves and overdrive nades, which you're probably going to be consistently using to push enemies and try to make plays with. And if you try to shockwave on somebody and shoot them while in the air with the twin mag SMG, you're going to be landing way less shots than if you're using something like the pistol or the Thunderburst SMG. And I think that not only are the pistol and Thunderburst SMG really good weapons, but I think that jumping accuracy is a huge reason why they've dominated this season in zero build. So it's a nice change for the twin mag SMG. In builds mode, this could maybe, make it a more viable weapon for spraying walls, but in zero build, I don't think too much changed here. The overdrive pulse rifle got nerfed again. I made a video last week about the several ways that Fortnite has nerfed this weapon, with its fire rate, damage, and accuracy all being changed. But today they decreased its mag size from 30 to 25. So you're going to need to reload a little bit more when using this. You're not going to be able to spray it as much. I feel like this is another change that kind of mainly affects build mode. If you're using this to like pressure walls, that 5 less bullets in the mag can be a bit of a game changer. But for zero build, I don't really think this changes too much. The weapon has already been nerfed pretty hard to the point where I don't think it's like definitively the best. It's still very good though, and I think even with this magazine size being decreased, it's still going to be a really good weapon. If you're up in somebody's face spraying this, you're going to dish out a lot of damage really quickly, and the movement benefit is still there. So while this is a nerf to the mag size, and probably like the 5th or 6th nerf this weapon has gotten since it's been added, still really solid. So doesn't ruin it too much for me. The tracer pistols actually got buffed, surprisingly. I thought these weapons were already really busted, and probably I think the most overpowered or the most broken item in the loot pool right now is the tracer pistols. Playing against somebody that uses those dashes well, I think is really difficult to keep up with, more so than any other item in the game. Not only just in terms of like fighting and tracking them, but like if they want to run away from you, the tracer pistols allow that to happen really well. But what they changed was the reload time was changed from 1.3 to 1.2 seconds. So it now reloads a 1/10 of a second faster. You can actually reload it just by doing the rewind effect as well. And then its damage fall off at range was also decreased, meaning it's going to have a bit more damage at longer ranges. But it's not like this is a massive change. It's still doing kind of minuscule damage at long range. It's not like you're going to be cross-mapping people with this, no problem. It's just not going to fall off quite as hard, but it's still a very low damage weapon in medium to long range, and something that you're going to want to like be up close against enemies and kind of dashing around in their face. But when you use dashes, you often do create some amount of distance. And I feel like in those situations, that's where the range increase here could be, noticed. But like outside of those fights, if you're trying to shoot somebody across the map, it's still going to be really bad. The regular AR had its headshot multiplier decreased. I don't know what the numbers were on this. It likely went from 1.75 to 1.5. And 1.5 is what the headshot multiplier was on the AR for years, like the regular AR. But remember last season in the OG Wild Week, Fortnite did buff it, and they increased its accuracy, and they also increased its headshot multiplier. So they basically just undid that headshot multiplier change that happened in last season. And overall, this is like something that is a very rare weapon to find, because the only way you get the gold scar or the regular AR this season is from the Midas floppers. So if you get a Midas flopper and then get the gold AR and then want to use that, it's going to have less of a headshot multiplier than it did before. But again, like I touched on with like kind of the twin mag SMG at the start of the video, the way this season has played out for zero build, it already wasn't that desirable of a choice because of that spread and the jumping accuracy being a huge problem in the fights that are typically going to be make or break for your game. The exotic bow, its hitbox is now larger, so it's easier to hit shots. I assume what they mean is they made the arrow actually larger when you're sending it at people, but it's just going to be a little more forgiving and a little easier for you to hit shots with this bow. And I know a lot of people are going to be unhappy with that and say like, oh, it's too easy now. I think it kind of makes sense with how fast this season plays out and how chaotic it is with all the movement and stuff. I think the bow was a kind of really inconvenient weapon to use. And even in more slow kind of stale seasons, I feel like the bows were some of the harder weapons to use. So as far as like hitting the shot directly. So I think buffing this a little bit and just making it a little bit better is nice. I don't think it's going to be a huge game-changing, meta-defining update. It just makes this weapon that was really inconvenient to use with how much mobility we have a little bit better to use, I think. Probably the biggest change in this update, I think, is the hammer revolver getting +3 damage for each rarity. So the green now does 60 damage, which is previously how much the blue did. And the gold will now deal 69 damage, which is previously what the mythic version did. And the mythic version will now deal 72 damage. And with the revolver having a 2x headshot multiplier, this means the mythic revolver will headshot for 144 damage. That is actually a lot. And if you get that mythic revolver, it's something that can be really good. It's not the most, optimal or easiest to use loadout, but like comboing the pump or the chaos reloader shotgun and the hammer revolver and just hitting a hard shotgun shot into a revolver headshot in a pseudo double pump playstyle, you can dish out a lot of damage really quickly. Or as something to open fights, again, you can dish out damage really quickly. And it isn't my preferred weapon to use, but I think the hammer revolver was already pretty underrated, and this buff just makes it even better. So if you've liked the hammer revolver or you like revolver style weapons, you probably are going to want to take advantage of this buff, because I think the headshot potential on this weapon is absolutely incredible. The finger guns, their damage was slightly decreased, and that might be surprising to a lot of people because this is a weapon that isn't even in the loot pool currently, but they are going to be added back for this weekend's community day on May 30th, which I believe is Saturday. There's a lot of changes coming for just that day. I'm going to make a video about it tomorrow, kind of going over the community day changes, what you need to know and what you should expect with community day. And so the finger guns will be returning for that, and they just kind of nerfed them a little bit to balance it better for community day. So that might not be a change you notice right away, but you'll see it this Saturday if you play on Saturday. So overall, not too much change in this update. We got weapon balance changes, and a lot of it doesn't redefine or completely change up the meta. And I think that's something that a lot of people would be kind of disappointed in. They look at this update and they're like, wow, not really much changed at all, right? That's kind of to be expected, because when downtime was announced, I'll have it on screen now, you could see this update is labeled as V40.41. And what that means is we are on the 40th season in the 4th major update. The 4 after the decimal point means the major update. And then what actually changed in this update is the 1 after the 4. The previous version of the game was V40.40. And now we're on V40.41. And what typically this means when we have an update where only the second number after the decimal point changes is it's a very minor update, usually just to set up stuff for the live event. I could be wrong on this, but my memory, pretty much the only time we get 0.01 updates is the week before an event or a few days before an event. And the reason why they do this is to kind of add the event files as late as possible, so that it's less likely things get leaked, I guess, rather than, having an entire month for leakers to potentially get into the event stuff. They added in the last week, and hopefully it doesn't get leaked. So if you were really knowledgeable or kept up with Fortnite and knew the way the update numbers worked, you probably expected this update to not really be anything but event stuff. And that's basically what it was. I was actually surprised we got weapon balance changes at all. I was expecting literally nothing gameplay wise in this update, and for it to just be stuff for the event. But we did get a few weapon balance changes, some different things to potentially play out with. I think, as I said, the meta is pretty much the same, so you could probably just completely ignore this update and play how you were playing before. Most of it was to set up for the event, which is going to be happening next Friday at, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So the live event, it's been advertised a lot on social media by Fortnite. I'm pretty sure in the news feed it's there. It's in the main menu lobby countdown thing. The event is coming next week, and that's what this update was mostly for. But that is going to be it for this update, or this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.